Ah. Right? It's not science now. Okay. Number 1. Number 1 says, write down the numbers that are integers from the following list of numbers. Now, integers, people, are basically whole numbers. So we have all our positive numbers, all our negative numbers, as well as 0. Okay? Now, at number 1, you will see that I also include that cube root of 54 over 2. Why? Because if I simplify that, it gives me cube root of 27. And cube root of 27 is actually 3. And that is a whole number. Yes. I'm not going to tell you to simplify. Like here, exactly like I asked you here, you must know that. I must first try and get that answer. And if that's an integer, then yes, it's part of it. The same with square root of 36. Square root of 36 is actually 6, and 6 is an integer. Okay. Right. Can I carry on? Number 2, write the following numbers in ascending order. Now, ascending means start small and then we go to the biggest number. Right, but these were all negative numbers. Now, because they're negative, remember, the further a negative number moves away from the 0, the smaller it gets. So if I want to start with the smallest number, it means I've got to go for the number the furthest away from 0. And that would be that minus 33,950. Okay, and then we move closer towards the 0. So that's why I end with minus 8,978. You guys good with that? Number 3. The temperature one night in Ulundi was measured as minus 1 degrees Celsius. The temperature increased to 8 degrees Celsius the next day. By how many degrees did the temperature rise? So I take the highest minus the lowest. So the highest was 8, and I subtract the lowest of minus 1. And these two minuses will then become, those two, will then become a plus. And that's why the difference or the increase here was 9 degrees Celsius. You guys good with that? Okay, number 4. They asked me which one is lower, minus 3 or minus 4. As we just said, the further you move away from 0, the smaller it gets. So minus 4 is further away, so therefore the smaller one. Can I skip? Okay, number 5. Number 5 said calculate the value of the expressions if x is minus 2. Now, if x is minus 2, it means we've got to substitute that in wherever we see x. But what's the golden rule when we substitute? Put it in brackets. Because if you didn't use brackets here, your answer will be completely different. Okay, so brackets are very important when we substitute in. So you will see that over here, you're going to get your first mark just for the substitution. And then your final mark will be for the answer. Okay, so make sure that you show me the substitution and that it's put in brackets. Okay, right, the same at B, but now x was 0. So again, everywhere I see x, I just put 0, but in brackets. And then that first part is still going to give me 0, plus 0, and then minus 2. So that's why my final answer will be minus 2. Yeah. Sorry? At B. Yeah. Okay, so over here, that minus 2, this minus 2, and that minus 2, I just substituted. It's because the x was there. Sorry? Yes. Like here, can you see I had x, but now instead of x I write 0. There was x, but now instead of x I write 0. Same thing here. Instead of x I write minus 2. Because they told me if x is minus 2. Okay. Right. 6a. Calculate. Now over here at 6a, you didn't have any extra steps. You could basically have just put it into your calculator. But at b, you'll see that I drew a blue circle around these two minuses because a negative times a negative will give me, have a look, it changes to a positive. And now it's just normal addition from left to right. So your answer should be 87. Okay. Can I skip? Hands up, we're still copying. No. Right, can I skip? Number 7. Number 7 said simplify the following. So what I had to do here, before I can add or subtract, what can we add or subtract? Only like terms. What does it mean if something is a like term?
Same.
The same what?
Same coefficient.
Variable, not coefficient, variable or unknown, yes. Okay, so you will see that over here I said 16a squared minus 32a squared has got the same variable. So if I subtract those, it gives me minus 16a squared. Then minus 21b plus 19b, those are like terms. And that simplified gives me the minus 2b. Okay. Then at b, minus 5x squared minus 14x squared, they are like terms. So that gives me minus 19x squared. Please remember that the unknown stays the same, eh? Remember we used that example of 6 bananas minus 4 bananas. It's still going to give you 2 bananas, not apples all of a sudden. Okay. 7x minus 32x, those are like terms, so I had to add and at least in this case subtract. So that gives me the minus 25x. Okay, at 8, they said write down the value of x that makes each of the following true. But in the test, I'm going to say solve x. Okay, now when we've got to solve x, we sometimes have to move numbers and coefficients around, meaning to the other side of the equal sign. And whenever we do that, remember that it becomes the inverse. Okay, yes, so a minus becomes a plus. Division becomes multiplication. Okay, good. So what we did here is I took that minus 160 to the other side, and that's why it becomes plus 160. Yes.
If this is in space, ma'am, can we just have the answer?
Like we had here, it was so simple that it would probably just be 1 mark. So then, yes, you could just write down the answer. But if I ask you this in the test, it's not going to be that simple. You will definitely have 2 or more steps. So then, yes, definitely show me your steps because that's where you get your marks. Okay. Right, then at B, minus 2x. Now, what does that minus 2 in front of the x actually mean? It's minus 2 times x. So if I take it to the other side, it becomes divided still by minus 2. So another way of looking at it, and some kids like rather writing it like this, minus 2x equal to 48. So what they like to do is, because I want to get rid of that coefficient, I put both of them over minus 2. Maybe that makes more sense. Yes. So then on this side, because the negatives and the 2's are going to cancel out, I just have x left. And then 48 over minus 2 is minus 24. Okay. But it's tomato, tomato, no? Same thing. Depends on what you prefer.
Tomatoes.
Okay. Yeah, potato, potatoes.